Hello and welcome to another episode of The Middleman. And today I have a very special guest with me, one of my dearest friends, Louise. She's an out-of-the-box counsellor, she's an author and very life experienced and a traveller at the moment, and lots of other things that we'll find out during the show. Welcome, Louise. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Roy. I'm fantastic. My favourite thing to do every day is waking up, and I did that again.
Nice. And so we'll get straight into it. And you've lived quite a varied life. Where did the journey start?
I think it was the age of 3 when I went to my mum and said to her really, really clearly one day, "Can you help me understand what's happening, because what I'm seeing doesn't make sense?" And she said to me, what does that mean to you? And I said, you get born, you go to school, you go to work, you get married, you have kids, and you die. And she said, well, you better go and pray about it. So like every good little girl listening to their mum, I got on my hands and knees literally beside my bed every night and I prayed. But I don't think George Lucas invented what's those cables that everything travels through. So I felt very disconnected from God because I wasn't hearing any answers like I believed that I was going to get.
Oh, yeah.
So the communication, well, what I heard as lack of communication led me on to the journey of actually going out and experiencing and finding out for myself. And I've done a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you grew up in quite a religious background.
Yes, church was mum's sanctuary when she didn't have someone else to tell her what to do. So the church became very much that space that governed and guided mum to making decisions, etc. She didn't have any faith and belief in herself, so she listened to other people around her to the point that they'd convinced her that at the age of 16 I was possessed by the devil, and they came and did an exorcism on me.
You know, I know you quite well. I'll err down that. You've definitely got a bit of devil inside you, in a good way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But that was a really, really interesting experience.
Yeah, but interestingly enough about the devil thing, to be a bit more serious around that, to me the devil is just representation of our inner shadow.
Completely, that's exactly what I've learned it to be.
And we've all got that.
Absolutely.
That inner shadow that holds a lot of our greatest powers.
Yeah.
And when you integrate that and use it for the light and use it for the betterment of yourself, it becomes a very powerful ally.
Absolutely.
And and for me personally, I just feel that shadow self has been bastardized a bit to create fear.
Absolutely.
So that we shy away from our greatest powers.
I really, really have learned on my journey that there is light and dark very much within all of us. I've learned to recognise when the dark comes up, but it doesn't mean I have to act on it. And that's the difference. Because I'm present and I'm aware, I don't have to go there. I can still have those thoughts and think, oh my God, may the fleas of 1,000 camels infest your armpits. However, not take any action to actually harm that person, because my reality is they are actually just another mirror reflection of myself on some level that I've either been, I am, or I'm yet to become.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
It saved me a lot of grief not stepping into that. And I also really, really understand that karma, and whatever your understanding is of it, I don't have to change my name to be karma, because it's a natural consequence of actions and behaviour.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I feel we are allowed to be angry. It's a human emotion.
Completely.
But what I've noticed over the years for observing how I transition using intuition and all those things is that, so anger, when it comes to the surface, naturally, it will do whatever it needs to be, but more often than not, we continue to then choose to be angry once that energy of it dissipates. And that's where we're falling into that trap. When you allow anger to be what it's meant to be, which is probably just the thoughts. It's when we choose to continue to be angry, that's when it's detrimental to ourselves rather than just a natural, organic, healthy release.
Completely. With 22 years of professional counselling under my belt, I've learned to understand that underneath all feelings is a deeper emotion, and underneath all anger is hurt. So if you can sit with, why am I angry about this, you can go back in your history and find out. Ask yourself the question, this is what I do. When was the first time I recognised feeling this feeling? When you ask a question specifically out loud to yourself, your subconscious brain has got no choice but to go down that rabbit hole and find it. It might not come to you instantaneously, but it will come to you and show you that there is a wound there, or what I call gravel. So there's a piece of gravel, and gravel's dirty and it's heavy and icky. And that's what most people pick up from experiences. And they cart that stuff literally around with them.
Yeah.
And the evidence of that is when you actually can own the fact that you've been holding on to something. You know that feeling of like the weight of the world's lifted off your shoulder?
Yeah.
Kinesthetically, we take 500 pounds of pressure per square inch to hold one thought down, repressed into our body, which affects our energy, our organs, our everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
When you can let it go, have your Elsa moment, it will come up and it can go out. So then you can do what I call is go back and look for the diamond. So go deeper, go, okay, what was the highest learning out of that experience? And it's a 180-degree flip from the gravel.
Yeah, well, I recognise that a lot of my anger over the years was just because I was unheard.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting a podcast and allowing others to be heard. This is therapeutic for me.
Very.
Ulterior motive, because like what you give to others, you receive yourself.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of throat issues as a child, tonsillitis?
No. Interestingly, no.
Yeah,
I've still got my tonsils. I've never get sore throats.
Yeah.
Look, off the top of my head, that could be due to my dragon's connection.
Yeah.
Because that does something different to your throat chakra. Because it's sort of when you're channeling dragon energy and that realm, you've kind of got a portal in your throat area, in your throat chakra. So it sort of shifts the throat chakra out the way. And then you're able to channel it straight through. That's how it comes. It doesn't come down in through the mind like a lot of other dimensions. So whether that's just off the top of my head, could be a reason why I never got throat issues. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. In my experience with the thousands of people I've worked with, me as my own experiment in progress, I've had horrendous throat issues. I had tonsillitis from the age of 3. And many people that repress things, I work metaphysically and listening to the body of what's happening in the body is giving you clues as to where it is that needs your focused, loving attention, because you've just taken the gravel from that experience. You missed the goal, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's always different levels of learnings as well. So absolutely, so when you've found one level, it wouldn't surprise you that a year later you'll find another one, and then you sort that one out, and it just keeps going.
I call them Sara Lee moments. You know the old Sara Lee pastries here in Australia, layer upon layer upon layer, which was a part of their advertising program. And it is very much like that. And the more you're willing to stand in your truth and really grow and strip all of the conformity and the learned behaviour, etc., away to show that genuine, authentic soul that you came here to experience being, it goes down. You know, you think, well, thank goodness that's gone. But then, whammo, it'll come back at a deeper level because there's more. It's just like there's more enrichment in pain, so to speak, than when things come easy to people, because sometimes we don't pay attention. Most of the time we don't pay attention because being present is something that we're conditioned, and the darker side will like to keep us away from standing in the light so we can't see clearly and easily. Like your post today on Instagram, you had the 4 spots of light.
Yeah, and I didn't notice that on the day. It was only when I was looking through the photos today, I was like, oh, that's clear to me that there's my next 4 steps in life are all very illuminated, and it gets more brighter.
It totally does.
So for those listening and for those watching, that's my Instagram reel that I posted earlier today. So go to my Instagram account and look that up.
Yeah, but it's very much like that. The more you put focused, loving attention into pain, I'm a huge advocate for the theory of leaning into pain, not pulling back. Because if you look at it like a rubber band, what happens when you pull back a rubber band and you let it go?
Oh yeah, it'll snap your fingers.
And it hurts like crazy. But if you lean into it, it has no more power.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have leverage over you.
Yeah, because you're not using that resistance. You're not, because that's the thing, and what you was explaining earlier about the 500 pounds of energy that you require to hold down an emotion.
Yeah.
That's one, for those that out there are feeling drained all the time, I highly suggest go looking within.
Yeah.
Start bringing those emotions to the surface so you can let go of them, so you'll feel more awake and more alive, and what you release will get replaced with the next stage, which is always positive. It'll give you more energy. But we're conditioned not to face that stuff. We're conditioned to just mask it with TV, alcohol, drugs, so many things.
All manner of things.
Yeah.
Or sweep it under what my beautiful daughter calls the rug.
Yeah.
Yes, sweeping it under the rug, but then that mountain of stuff under there gets so huge that you can't help but keep falling over it.
The one thing I love though at the moment of what's going on is, with everything that's going on, it's actually forcing us to live in the present moment and face all this stuff, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant time to live, as much as it's uncomfortable for many people.
Yeah.
We're not so affected by it because we've been doing it for years anyway. We're already in the flow and we're already quite strong at facing our inner demons.
Yeah.
And we're sort of stood outside watching people struggle with a sort of, not in a bad way, but kind of going, now you know, these are people that I've known that I've been trying to explain to them for years, going, face yourself, become authentic, face those troubles, look at why that person's triggering you, and they're going blah 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 whatever, and now they're being forced into it. I'm literally going, well, I said it was coming.
Yeah.
Perks of being psychic, you can see things coming.
Yeah.
And
because you're willing to look into the mirror reflection of yourself. And science proved, real science, proved that decades ago, that we live in a reflective universe. So if you can be present with yourself, and this is why my hashtag is presence the inside job, is sitting with yourself to actually see what is, not what they are wanting you to see, but what's really going on, like that $100 bill or the dollar bill from the United States of America that we were just talking about before, that's got reptilian skin scales on it. Yeah. So that everything there is available to us, but are we willing?
Yeah, we're willing to see.
Or are we so caught up in distraction, or on, I call in Egypt, on the Nile, which is denial.
Yeah, denial,
We can't actually take that on board because there's the next shiny object or whatever to keep us away from really seeing who we are and how powerful we are.
Yeah, and when we choose to allow ourselves to be distracted.
Completely.
And that maybe for some people that might be the first step, to recognise that you're choosing to allow yourself to be distracted from facing all the stuff that's gone on, and you're still playing victim rather than playing student of your life.
Yeah.
And that was one of my biggest changes when I decided to I was fed up on my own bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to learn from all this. I'm going to grow from all this. I'm creating this all with myself.
Yeah.
Why, and I'd say to people, there's enough people out there that want to bring me down. Why should I be the one doing it better than anyone else?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll make myself strong, and then they can't bring me down. There's nothing they can throw at me because I own all my demons. Like, bring up the skeletons. Already know who they are.
Yep.
Already dealt with them. Great, go for it. Knock yourself out.
Totally.
See what you can do.
So when I wrote my first book called Detoxing the Goddess, it's an autobiography. Of course, you start with one. It's drugs, it's sex, and it's rock and roll. And so many people from around the world that have read it have said to me, "Oh my God, you are so brave," saying that, you worked as a prostitute for one night. You did all of these different things. And I thought, I don't see it as bravery. I just see it as living myself authentically. Because if I, like Marianne Williamson said in her beautiful poem from the book she wrote in 1984 called A Return to Love, if I shine so brightly, it unconsciously gives other people permission to see their own way home. So me holding back is actually not adding positively to the planet. And again, they are me, who I've been, who I am, or who I'm yet to become.
Yeah, and the good thing is as well, is like you can either look at things on a bad way, you can look at things on a good way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bad stuff about TikTok and YouTube and all, but if you use it for the positive,
Absolutely.
if you use it to show who you are authentically and be real,
Yeah.
you'll influence so many random strangers that might not choose to commit suicide that day because they've seen a post of yours that inspires them, or you've shown a true real part of yourself. So, for instance, what you just said about being a prostitute for one night, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
We'd never discussed that, so I'll be talking to you about that afterwards.
I gave you a copy of the book you got to read.
No, I've passed that to Davina.
Oh, that's
So,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Because I didn't feel it was for me.
Will you jump online and have
Yeah.
a buy
I'll
it
have a
off
nosy.
my website?
I'll borrow the chapter. And for anybody out there, so the book's called
Detoxing the Goddess.
Detoxing the Goddess. Where would they be able to find that?
From my website, or it's actually available on Amazon as well.
Oh, cool.
But I can give you the link to my website and
Yeah.
you can pop it in somewhere.
So, yeah, so the links will be in the description of this podcast, so you'll be able to find a link to that book. I highly recommend it. This Louise is very eloquent, and I'm sure the book will be written in such a way, and it's sex, drugs and rock and roll. Who would not want to read a book like that?
And I'm naked on the cover.
Yeah.
I am on 2 of the 3 books that I've written. The second one that I wrote is called Depression is Spiritual Suppression, and it's your choice. And I always give a copy to my parents and my beautiful daughter first. And Dad goes, "What's this naked gig?" And I said, "Well, what do you think it means, Dad?" And he goes, "It's you coming out of the darkness and taking off all of those layers." And I went, bingo, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, just... And that's, again, body shaming is still quite a big thing, especially on the Gold Coast.
Oh.
They're hiding all parts of their own beauty with,
Add-ons.
Botox and add-ons and everything else, and everyone's just starting to look the same, and it's boring.
And
For me personally, this is my personal take, it's like, I like variety, and because I live authentically me, it hurts me a little bit to see others not doing it. I just want to help them go, look, okay, explain to me why you're hiding.
Yeah.
But I also am fully aware these days it's not always my place. So intuition is a great tool for me these days. It tells me when it's my place and when it's not.
Yeah. And coming back to that point that we were talking about distractions earlier, distraction is a way of keeping you out of the present, because when you are in the present, you have everything available to you, and you don't have to be in your mind to think up what's the next step. You are completely in that flow. And mindfulness and meditation, I would have to say, has been the greatest tool.
Yeah.
I've journeyed, I was meditating probably for 25 years, at least an hour a day. Had some of the most prolific learnings from that experience, apart from the fact that it helped me get into this space, but it got me back into my body, out of my mind. And this has been my journey, very, very big, because I'm Aquarius, North Node in Gemini, Libra rising, and I've got my Venus, and I've got 3 planets in Aquarius. Anyway, so very, very analytical in your head.
Yeah.
And not literally to the point that you could stab me and I wouldn't feel a thing. So meditation and mindfulness helped me get from in my head into my body. And when I first started my journey of learning to be a professional counsellor, it was very analytical. and it didn't sit right with me. So what I did is started studying astrology, and that was the aha moment that got me to marry head and heart together.
Yeah.
And it got me very much into my body. So I find it really imperative to have the wholeness and that completeness in looking at different parts. If so many people don't have a clue of who they are, so they will go into, like my mum, for example, is just listening to other people outside themselves because they don't trust themselves, because that inner child relationship, which is the most important relationship you will ever have, the trust has been broken. Because like you said, as a child you didn't feel heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because being massively gifted, I could see things, feel things, sense things that no one else in my household could.
Yeah.
And I just got told, "Oh, that's not real. That's just making it up.
You're crazy.
You're
there's
crazy,
something
and
wrong
or
with you.
you
Let's
just
go to the
it's
psychologist."
just your imagination."
Yeah.
And I'm going, but I can they're literally tapping me on the shoulder. I'm not. How can you make up someone tapping you on the shoulder?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, my son, who's also gifted, he can see spirit. They've started tapping him on the shoulder.
Oh, wow.
He rang me yesterday. He says, "Oh, an awesome thing happened to me, Dad." I said, "What's that?" He said, "For the first time someone tapped me." Well, they actually tapped him on the back of the neck. And I said, "Who was it?" And he went, "Oh, I didn't ask." I said, "Just ask,
Practice,
mate, this is, I've told you before, though, if anything like that happens, ask, find out who it is."
Exactly.
Because you never know who's, he could have just, because he was at work on the Domino's bike, and he could have just randomly passed
Yeah.
a spirit in the street that just tapped him on the shoulder, because they know who's aware and who's awake and who can see and feel them.
Completely. I, like you, since the age of 3, have been seeing and speaking to people that have passed over.
Yeah.
I've never done anything with it except for the fact when someone comes to me and my experience, they only ever come peripherally first. They're not direct on. And I let them know that I'm here, I'm open, I'm so grateful that they've chosen me. Who is it that you've got a message for? I'll get the message and that person will randomly show up, that person will randomly ring.
Randomly.
Yeah, funny that. Or I would just be bumping into somebody seemingly at just like the shopping centre or in Bali when I was over there, and I have a message to pass on to them.
Yeah.
And it's so profoundly true.
Yeah, and for those that are opening up to that gift or don't know what to do with it, that's a great example from Lou, that you can have them peripheral. You can just have a very slight connection to pass on a message. Don't have to go full medium like I am. That I can stand on stage and allow person after person after person to come through and pass a message to people in the crowd, or I can just speak to people randomly in the street and their parents will come through or whoever. So I'm full on with it, but that's how I like it, because obviously that's my mission, and yours is slightly different and slightly less intense.
Yeah,
so it's about finding your level.
Exactly.
Don't be scared of it, essentially.
And in going into using gifts, etc., I very much use my ability to body scan people and to feel where stuff is going on with them and dive down to get back to the initial wound where they grabbed the gravel.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, and which it's really only flipping at 180 degrees to see the diamond in the experience, what was their highest learning in that literally burns that neural pathway out. So you do not have the ability to go back into that pattern of behaviour or that thought before that you had previously. Like within milliseconds, you cannot even remember what on earth the issue was.
Yeah, and I do I do the same thing but in a different way. So I take people back to where they created the life lesson / some people call it trauma, but where they created it, and help them make sense of why they created it and why they chose that as a soul to grow. And when they do make sense of it, they can let it go. And then I just see it in their eyes. It's like all the previous or all the after parts from that choice all dissipate. Because it just, like you say, it wipes out that line of energy. Because they've now learnt the lesson. And once you've learned something, you can let it go.
Yeah.
You don't need to revisit it.
Totally.
Yeah. And
Totally.
it's just seeing it in people's eyes, that realisation, that aha moment, that going, oh, that, and you see their body tingles.
And the big
that
sigh
makes
is
so much
because
sense,
they're literally letting that
yeah.
energy out.
And then you see their shoulders drop, and,
Yep.
and it's just, and
It's
that's one of my most favourite things in one-on-ones. And, you know, and even when I do my mediumship stuff, I like to bring a more profound message through rather than they love you, because to me that's like, well, of course they love you. I know you've still, if they're coming through with the message, they've got something important to say to help you let go of something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very interesting journey, which is just constantly evolving day by day, moment by moment, and there's thousands of routes to take. But whichever one you take will be perfect.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. You have to trust that everything's perfect in the moment.
Yep.
'Cause it's only this moment exists. When we was talking about depression and suppression, to me, depression is you're focused in the past.
Yep.
Anxiety is you're focused in the future. In other words,
Completely.
they both mean you're not in the present moment.
Completely.
And as Master Oogway said from Kung Fu Panda,
Yes.
yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's where everything's created. And if you look at quantum physics, everything's created from the present moment anyway.
If you want something to read in 3D terms, Dr. Spencer Johnson has written a series of books. They are all phenomenal. But he's written a book called The Present. And it's a beautiful metaphor for this young boy that's always looking for this present. And on his journey, he actually finds out what that is through the teachings of the old man who was on the porch just up the street from him. He's also written Who Moved My Cheese, Ian Orr, but seriously profound books, very small books, which I found at the beginning of my journey. I would have read over, I'm going to say about 750 personal growth books since I started my journey, and I never read a book until I was 16 years of age.
Yeah.
My mum used to read the books. It's not that I couldn't read, I wouldn't allow myself to be present enough to do it.
Oh, yeah.
She would read it, and then I'd do the book review for school from there.
Yeah.
But I found that the bigger the book, the better the excuse I had to not do it. And to the point, every time I sat down to read a book, I'd start to fall asleep. So what I did is I stood up on the edge of the bath, got the book in my hand and said, okay, bastards, now make me go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like I was tempting fate.
Yeah.
But I passed it because I
a way.
was so determined to grow
Yeah.
and to learn more. The first book that I ever read and fully embraced myself with was Dr. Susan Jeffries' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I had that moment that, oh my gosh, there is someone else on the planet that thinks like me.
Yeah.
And that was so empowering because I didn't feel alone any longer.
Yeah.
I no longer feel alone. I haven't for many, many years because I have so many people with me on my journey, whether I'm seeing them or feeling them or standing on their shoulders, so to speak, because they've guided me and I've seen my reflections through them, and I now use that as a part of my intuitive impetus to continue to move forward.
Yeah.
And coming back to what you were saying earlier about people that choose to have add-ons to their bodies, I very much see the whole thing as our intention of how we think about it.
Yeah.
So that's where the energy comes from. So if you intend to harm, even albeit just a thought, then that's something that you've got to clean up. And I like to see it as the footprint, they bang on about in the climate change world about like the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
What about our energetic, loving footprint? What are we gifting to the world by our thoughts, our deeds, our actions, and or lack of them?
Yeah.
Are we leaving that for our children and our children's children to clean up that luge, so to speak, that really heavy, dark residual? like a black sludge.
Yeah, look, things are definitely changing. More and more people are becoming, as interesting, I spoke about this morning, more and more people are becoming woo-woo. In
Yeah.
other words, more and more people are starting to wake up. More and more people are starting to go, there's something more to this world than what I've been experiencing.
Yep.
Where do I start? And as soon as they ask that question, where do I start? Spirit's got you.
Yeah.
You've opened that door. You can't back out.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you're on your journey. And for those that, after listening to this, decide to ask that question, okay, where can I start on my awakening? Where can I start on my trauma clearing? As soon as you ask that question, whatever book you're drawn to, no matter how obscure that it might be in comparison to asking that question, and you keep getting drawn to that book, there'll be an answer. That'll be, well, it'll be leading you to the first step.
Yep.
Or the next step if you're already on that journey. Absolutely. And I've read some really obscure books that I think have been nothing to do with my spiritual journey, and then there's been a paragraph or something, and it's science fiction and fantasy or anything like that, and I'm like, that makes total sense about my journey. Even when I've been playing computer games sometimes, you know, I'll end up going on a quest somewhere, and it's like, and I sort of look up at the sky and go, okay, that's why I got that strong sense to play it. And it wasn't through gaming addiction or anything like that. It was the different kind of energy behind it going, yeah, we need to show you something. You need that realisation in that present moment. Yeah, so, you know, the universe is an amazing thing because it can get answers to you in any way, shape or form in any given moment, which means because that means you can't hide from it.
Yeah.
You can go and sit in the deepest cave and they'll still get something to you.
Oh, I know, absolutely.
It's just brilliant how the universe gets things to you at times that makes you crack up.
Yeah. You can be in a foreign country.
Oh, yeah, you don't even have to speak the language and they'll find someone who can speak the language.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Phenomenal. So, yeah, that goes back to my 3-year-old. That was the beginning of that whole journey of asking the question, because what I was observing and experiencing wasn't making sense to me.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't make sense, you can't get it into your body.
Yeah.
It can't become a part of you. It's just stuck in the brain. Like you and I've invested in excess of $150,000 into self-development, courses, programs, literature, experiences. And as they say, many, many people actually don't do anything with it, and it sits on the shelf and becomes shelf development, no longer self-development.
I like that one.
Yeah. And it's actually putting it into action that gets it into your body, because for years I couldn't understand. It's like, oh my gosh, I know all of this stuff. I can go through and quote random stuff that's really, really sat with me. But how do I get it to be a part of my conscious competence in my beautiful body? It's through action. It's through practice.
Yeah, practice.
And meditation and mindfulness are exactly that. It's that practice of giving yourself space to be in the space to receive. So you don't have to think. Yeah. You just are.
Yeah, and I frequently say to people, it's called a spiritual practice for a reason, because you have to practice it every day. And you don't have to practice the same thing. I mean, I've got so many different modalities. The one might not get visited for like 2 months.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it'll come to the fore, and then it will be that thing for the next month.
Yeah.
And the rest get put aside. And changing the subject, going back to how the universe can bring people into our lives in random ways. Well, how did we meet?
Yes. On a YouTube comment on Charlie Ward's channel 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I made a comment, and I think you came back and commented, and we started chatting.
Yeah, we both said, I'm from the Gold Coast, and I'm in the Gold Coast too, and then we arranged to meet up. So we actually met through YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Of all the things, random, you don't really go on YouTube to meet people per se.
No.
And especially just through someone else's channel and just random comments. That's the universe going, right, we need to get these two together.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. And it's really profound what can come from those experiences if you allow yourself.
And you're now one of my dearest friends.
Thank you.
And one of my strongest mirrors. So when I've got stuff going on and I need someone at my power level, it's like, right, Lou, this is going on, I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's reciprocal as well, which is beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
So, we help each other.
And it's just because we practice it on a daily, moment-by-moment basis that becomes such conscious competence. There's no thought. Like I had a client yesterday, and she had spent 9 hours with a forensic psychologist diving into bits and pieces about something that she'd reported. And in my head, there was this, oh my gosh, you don't know how to deal with this, blah, 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 blah. But because I was so present with her, I heard words, and it just gave me the pathway exactly to go. And she sent me a text last night thanking me again so much for what she'd learned in that hour and a half that we spent together.
Yeah.
That she is her own guru. She knows the answers, because she was one of these people that asked everybody outside herself for the answer, which often comes from being a child and shut down by a parent and told, you be quiet, you're seen and not heard, and that you're not enough, that you can't trust yourself. To totally be able to flip that and hear the amount of size she had in the conversation and her goals moving forward is just the greatest high.
Yeah, and you know, for those that have always asked the question of what's my life's purpose?
Yes.
Well, it's to become the greatest version of yourself.
Yeah.
That is the spoiler alert, that is life's purpose. It's that simple.
Yes.
Now, I figured out recently, it's different to your life's mission.
Yes.
Your life's mission and your life purpose are two different things, but they're obviously intricately connected. But your purpose is to become the most powerful version of yourself, the most enlightened version, the most authentic version, the most truthful version. And then that will, through that journey, your life's mission gets revealed. So, this is kind of how it works, is that I chose parents because as a soul, before we come down, we choose our parents. So I chose the lessons off their parents. So I chose parents that wouldn't listen to me. So I chose that the shadow journey of being unheard, so that when I became authentic to myself, I could give that gift to everyone else, because I understand it. Understand what it's like not to be heard. And that's part of the mission of this podcast, is there are so many people that are starting to wake up to their intuitive gifts that are still too embarrassed to talk about them. Whereas I'm so unashamedly me, being a psychic medium, can talk to dragons and the starseed, the alien stuff, absolutely every part of the spiritual realm you can think of, I've got my finger in that pie somewhere. And I don't care who I'll talk about it to. I could meet complete random strangers not into that stuff, and I will talk about it if the conversation goes that way. Which invariably the universe makes sure it goes that way, and I just own it.
Isn't it wonderful though, 2.5 years ago when we first met, you just gave me little chestnuts of these bits and pieces, and then all of a sudden you just started speaking about it so much, and you said to me, that's just mine, you said to me, oh my God, it feels so good to speak to somebody that just gets me and just really is okay with me being like this. And I said, absolutely. But that's the
just
mirror
that reflection
of me, because my desire to be myself authentically and stand there naked in front of the world, which I've done in front of a group of people, believe it or not. I didn't think that was something that I could do. But it is so powerful, shining, so another person can give themselves permission to
and
do
that's
the
part of my podcast. I'm going to get as many people as I can on here that are wherever they're at with their spiritual development, wherever they're at using their gifts, you know, you use yours at a much lighter way, but that's just perfect for your journey. You know, for whatever reason, I'm meant to be all in, full on, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Like yesterday, I was clearing a curse. I was doing a one-on-one client clearing a curse. So I had to go full wizard. I had to take my staff and everything, and it was epic. It was so much, but it was so gentle at the same time. So she you know, later that day, she gave me such a wonderful review. And it just warms my heart when I read it. And that's why I love doing what I do. It doesn't matter how, you know, I'm going there I'm still feeling a little bit silly about 2% going, you know, I've got all these crystal orbs, I've got my staff that isn't even proper built yet. That's the next thing to be done. As, you know, I sort of joked to myself going, the only thing you ain't got is your hat and your robe, mate.
They're coming.
Yeah. Whether I'll get that far, I don't know, but because I have my T-shirts, that's my thing. They've all got their meanings to them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, when you this is the thing, when you start to take that journey to get to know yourself, the universe backs you up, and it will send people in your way that will enable you to open up at the level where you're at.
Totally.
And through YouTube, wherever, doesn't matter where you are, they'll send them to you. It's just about being open, and that journey will last till the rest of your physical days as well. And when you really start to play with the universe, it really backs you up. And growth is always uncomfortable, though. It's not that, you know, with practice it gets less. You know, I'm at the level now where I practice growth through joy.
Yes.
But it's still painful.
Yep.
And it's still growth, but it's just nowhere near as painful as doing it on the shadow side, where it's like broken marriages, car crashes, injuries, and all the, you know, all the stuff that gives you like mind stuff that you have to then shift as well, all the emotional thoughts around it that you hold, going, why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
Whereas I pretty much know why everything's happened to me.
I no longer see it as why did it happen to me. What's happening?
Yeah, what's it
for
teaching?
me?
Yeah.
What's happening for me? So you switch it around. But it's like such a blessing every single day. And I use the word blessing instead of blessing, because if you look at the word blessing, it's be less.
Oh, yeah.
And I've switched it because bliss to me is a state of godlikeness.
Yeah, blessing. Yeah,
So
I like that one.
I see everything as blessings and am able to lean into it. And yes, I still get that uncomfortable pain very, very occasionally.
Yeah.
Because I've learned that growth doesn't have to come from pain.
No.
Because when I'm present, I can see it.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes to explain to people, I say, look, when you was a kid and you was growing, your bones hurt.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable for a couple of days.
Totally.
And you know, until your parents said, oh, it's just growing pains, you was like, why is my leg aching for no reason?
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you're 2 inches taller.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of a very similar thing.
Yeah. I like the old caterpillar analogy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfectly.
So what's next on your journey? What's the next stage?
Well, next is my mission. So I've had a passion since I was a 15-year-old because I felt unheard, unseen, unimportant as a teenager. I was walking past this massive building in Toowoomba, which is my hometown, and I could see it was the old Carlton United Brewery in Mort Street, and it's like a multi-level, massive, big Victorian structure built in the late 1800s when Toowoomba was settled. And I literally was walking past it, and as if there was a glass facade, and I could see right into that building, and I saw that this was a youth space, a space where they could create. They could allow themselves to be exactly who they were naturally. It was a live-in space that there was learning and growth to transpire there. So I've mapped out this massive business plan to go global. The first one's here on the Gold Coast, to set up what's called the Mirakai Collective. And the word Mirakai in and of itself is doing something with so much passion, creativity and soul. You're putting a part of yourself into it. So it's a youth-based space that they come and live in, and there is a choice of entrepreneurships, as in health, nutrition, exercise, carpentry, electrician, beauty therapy, hairdressing, what do you call that stuff? Permaculture. And the like, animal husbandry, etc., that they can choose from if it resonates with them. And we're going to do that through astrology and doing some really deep diving into allowing them to be authentically themselves and voicing what they choose, so that they can have people that walk with them. And a part of the exchange is that when they enter into the program, they agree to do an hour per day with a specific person or several people, depends on what their fit is, because there's no boxes here, of self-inquiry as to why I do what I'm doing. Why am I doing that behaviour? So if they're smoking, using alcohol, using drugs, using food, sex, shopping, whatever it is that they can use as a
escapism.
Yes, or distraction. So that 1 hour is going to help them grow while they're learning skills, so that they can go out and become fully independent and march to the beat of their own drum.
Yeah.
Not have to have a job, just all over broke or just all bullshit. That's something that lights them up.
Yeah, find their mission.
Yes. So that's my mission, to do that in such a scale, and that every single person that's involved in this, every man and woman, will actually sign a very, very similar agreement.
Yeah.
That whilst they're working for the 3 days within the Mirakai Collective, that they too agree to look in their own mirror.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting that you've spoken about this with me on many occasions. And it's not until today that I realised you've got the word mirror in that. I don't know why it took me that long, but
Yeah.
obviously meant to just realise it right now.
Yeah. But that's exactly what it is, because this is the what's come to fruition because of my journey from that little 3-year-old girl, of the things that I experienced along the way. And I've got a long time ago, if I was actually experiencing it, there's a damn good chance that most other people out there are doing it as well.
Yeah.
So me using my voice and being the space to allow other people the space so they can see their own stuff, I think that is such a blessing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, and for me at the moment, I mean, I do mentoring and coaching, and because when I was growing up, nobody taught me how to use my gifts. I mean, look, I was very blessed in that, with my connection with Spirit and all those team up there, I was able to be taught directly by Spirit.
Yeah.
And I went looking for mentors so many times, and I just kept getting from Spirit going, no, only we can teach you. But it still enables me to teach others and teach them those gaps, those intricacies, the things that other people haven't observed and haven't broken down. And I've broken down the spiritual journey to such a level that there's all these little tips and tricks that I can teach that few others can, because they've never looked at it the way I do.
Yeah.
And because I wish, and I've done that because of my journey. I've gone, I wish someone could have taught me that little thing, because that would have made a massive difference. I wish someone could have taught me that. I wish someone could have helped me make sense of why I'm experiencing it this way and why is it going that way.
That's exactly why I'm so passionate about being that space, because I myself wanted somebody so deeply to be able to give me information and how to keep moving forward. But it was, I put it like this, it's like, you know those big sumo suits that you kind of like strap on and you're bouncing off walls, etc.
Yeah.
That's kind of how my journey's been. That if I can give somebody else the opportunity of a clearer path, that's a fantastic thing. But also if they want to choose something that's more difficult, if they need the pain to really get the blessing, that's so be it.
Yeah.
Absolutely so be it.
'Cause
I would much rather do it more gently and subtly, because that footprint that I'm leaving behind, that energy that I'm leaving behind by being present to what is a, not, in my opinion, a nicer energetic space to be.
And for me, I was frustrated a lot of the time.
Yes.
So if I can help people not experience nowhere near as much as a frustration as I went through trying to figure out how my spiritual gifts works and the intricacies behind them, I've served a purpose. Definitely, because that, for me, that was the biggest challenge. It was like I spent days and I used to bitch at Spirit all the time, going, just what's going on, and they'd stay silent because I was being taught patience and all these other things that they were teaching me that they couldn't tell me they was teaching me, because if they did, I wouldn't learn it. And and so I spent years breaking down this frustration, finding out why.
Yeah.
And I don't get frustrated now. I have a deal with them now that if something new comes up that rocks me and I have a bitch about it, I'm allowed a 10-minute bitch.
Yeah.
And then they go, right, you're going to learn it now?
Yeah.
So I'm a 10-minute going, rah, 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 fracking, rah, rah, rah. And then they go, right. And at the end of it, I'll just get this voice going, right, you're going to learn now? And I go, yeah, all right. Had your bitch? Yeah, good. Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
And then I get on with it.
Yeah. Just sitting here in this conversation now, my whole crown chakra is so open. I can literally feel a portal open through the crown of my head. And that's, to me, because we're having this conversation, we're energetically pulsing that energy out into the universe, and they're going, she's ready for more.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I know how my energy emanates out. That anybody watching the podcast is receiving information energetically, is receiving love receiving love energetically. So this is why this will go great guns.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
which is brilliant, you know, because I'm on Spotify, I'm on Google Podcasts. There's a couple of the little ones that I can't think off the top of my head that this podcast goes out to. I've still got to sort out. There's an issue with verifying my account with Apple, so that's something I've got. And I know why I'm creating it, because I hate Apple. Because they're just counterintuitive for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they're insular.
Yeah.
But I'll figure it out. It's on my to-do list, so
You will.
every time I put something on my to-do list, it's basically saying to Spirit, going, look, I need help with this, thanks.
Yeah.
Because I want to be out there to more people I can share this with, and help people like yourself share your journey and share your book, and so they can link into, and whatever they resonate with you, they can easily find you. That's also part of the mission of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not about selling books, it's about showing people that they're not alone, because if you feel connected, I have a client that she says this on a regular basis. She goes, connection is my soft porn, Lulu. I love it so much. When we feel connected, it triggers back into that whole reptilian brain. We are not alone. We are protected. We have other people with us on this journey. So I think it's $4 on my website to download. It's an instant digital download, etc. Or you can get it, like I said, through Amazon. But the amount of people that have read the book, and I've had people from New Zealand, Canada, England email me and said, I have never picked up a book in my life that I thought I'd be reading my own story. So we are so much alike in different gorgeous vessels, having this experience of being human. So, yeah, I think it's really important to be open and transparent. And I did a deal with God in 2011 when I moved to Melbourne. I said, right, I will live my life transparently and just be me authentically to help other people see their way home. You bring the rest of it in.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely transpired like that. The series of events that happen, like I didn't know I was moving to Melbourne. I thought I was going to move to Sydney. And one day, like you, I was really, really frustrated. I went outside and I looked down and I actually saw, being present, the number plate on my car, which was 294 MCG. And I went, holy shit, you want me to move to Melbourne?
Yeah.
It was like right smack bang there on my face. And I moved to Melbourne on the 29th of September 2011, and my apartment was 4 minutes from the MCG.
Yeah, so we would have been in Melbourne at the same time.
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
I came back in
Where was I?
2015.
I was about to move to Werribee,
Yeah.
the western suburb of Melbourne, into the birdcage.
I was in Toorak.
Yeah.
Toorak,
Toorak.
I was in the middle of all
Yeah.
of the deliciousness.
Toorak. Oh, that's
just off Chapel Street.
Always makes me think of the trams, Toorak.
Yeah. Beautiful.
For some reason. Yeah.
So that's about, comes back to like being present, to go, oh my God, it's like, and I'd been driving that car for 6 months.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like when you're ready to see it, you see it even though it's been right in front of your face all the time.
That's
just like the Mirakai Collective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. So the Spirit actually showed me they want me to look at the Kai bit.
Yeah.
The KAI. I don't think it's spelled that way, but they just show me. It's just insight.
Yep.
That'll be for you.
Yeah.
Because they often get me to split things up.
Yep.
In other words, and that's where you find the intricacies, when you break things into pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I break people into pieces and find out the cracks. And look, there is this saying inside. It says the devil's in the details, which makes you shy away from the details a bit. The shadow's in the details.
Yeah.
Your true self is in the details.
Is it insight or is it inside? I'm just looking metaphorically because I love the old saying.
Insight.
When you go...
Because they're giving me images, so it's insight.
When you go outside, you literally go without.
Yeah, no, because they're dropping it within my energy field. So even though if you want to get physically, technically, it's kind of coming from the outside in, but they're giving the information is dropping within to me. They're my team. They're actually part of me, really. They're just
completely.
they're part of my inner circle. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, no, they're not separate. We're all connected. So they're just my team, and they've all got their own different skills. And some will drop music, some will show me number plates, and some will drop images, and some will whisper on the wind.
Yeah.
inside my mind, and someone literally jab me in the ribs.
Yep.
Or tap me on the shoulder. So yeah, or put hats on me. That's one of my fun ones, when they put a certain hat on me, and then I tune into which hat it is, and then I know roughly who's talking.
Yeah, cool.
Depending on
Peripherally, whatever that's covering over there, that looks like a Merlin hat to me. Merlin hat body.
Yeah, the grey one. Yeah, yeah, Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah.
I'm coming into my Gandalf the White phase now.
Yeah. Fabulous.
The Illuminated Journey.
Fabulous.
Excellent. Well, so you're not on social media, are you, really?
I'm on Instagram.
Instagram. Oh, that's right. Is it Louise Maree 888?
That's the one.
Yeah, Louise Maree 888. That's the Instagram handle.
Yes.
Mm.
I had a massive following of...
And what's the website where they can find the book? And
I'll send you the link.
oh, that's right. The link will be in the description of the podcast, and this obviously gets put on YouTube as well for those that like visually.
Yes.
So I speak to the visual and the audio people.
Yes.
Because I know there's some things that can happen during my podcast visually that people need to see, just like the last one.
Yeah.
When the lady that I was interviewing, her grandma came through, and I said something, and just the look on her face was, she just went. You had to see the look on her face to go, how did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The 444 numbers. Yeah, I heard you were speaking to.
yeah, the angels. Yeah, the angelic numbers.
But yes, thank you so much, Roy, for stepping into your authenticity publicly, because you are unconsciously giving other people permission to shine as well. And the only criticism and judgment really comes from ourselves. Like, the only people that can reject us is ourselves.
Yeah, and I've learned over the years that I don't really criticise myself now. I push myself.
Yeah.
You've got to push yourself to grow, and yeah. But yeah, I'm here to help people flourish.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is by flourishing myself.
Absolutely. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Exactly. Who's the fairest of them all?
Yeah.
Not me now, I'm getting older. Anyway, so that's where we'll leave it. And so everyone, tune in to the next episode. And if you haven't checked out previous episodes, certainly look through those on Roy B. the Middleman on Spotify and Google Podcasts, and also on YouTube. So thanks very much, and I'll see you all next time.